Yeah, he did.
Meeting call to order. Today is Monday, March 25th. It is now 6:05 PM. Town Council, meeting in Town Council chambers for fiscal year budget 24-25. Roll call.
Sorry. All right, Councilman Lichardi,
Here.
Councilman Dennison,
Here.
Council Vice President Williamson,
Here.
Council President Goslin,
Here.
noting for the record that Councilman Messier is absent, or Mr. Clear.
All right. Want to give an overview or?
Certainly. Dispensing with the initial part, I'll just go to the fiscal year 2025 budget key points. The total budget increase is projected or proposed to be slightly more than $7.2 million, which is inclusive of $2.1 million in municipal expenses, $5 million in school state aid pass-through, with no increase to the school department's local appropriation. The levy increase is proposed at 1.22%, or slightly more than $800,000. The approximate tax rate increase is 2.35. This will fluctuate as the tangibles come back, which we're due on the 15th. Funds are reserved for anticipated collective bargaining, salary adjustments for unionized staff, and salary adjustments for non-union personnel. The capital expenditure request total $436,000. We also plan on proposing the remainder of our American Rescue Plan funds and also aggressively seek federal, state, and private grants and aid. We have fully transitioned to the employee retirement system of Rhode Island. The rates provided by ERSRI have been applied to all pensionable salary types within the respective departments, and those legacy plan employer rates will stay the same as fiscal year 24. A 7% decrease in our healthcare working rates has been applied. Transition to the interlocal trust for healthcare management has been successful. A decrease to our workers' comp due to our experience modification dropping again for favorable claims. The proposed tax collection rate is 97.0%, and there's no planned use of our savings or fund balance in this budget. At the appropriate time, Kristen will share that we received positive news today from the trust on our healthcare dental rates. So the appropriate section, she can share that good news.
Any questions for Mark from the council before we begin? For the record, Councilor Messier is here. All right. Starting off with the library.
Good evening, Council.
Hi, Colin.
How are you?
Good, thank you. Hope you're all doing well. As in previous years, our FY25 request is less than 1% of the overall town budget. And as I've also done in previous years, I would argue that the library offers a very good return on the financial support that we receive from the town of West Warwick. We do, of course, provide what might be thought of as traditional library services and programs with an exemplary level of quality and customer service. But over the years, we've also worked in innovative ways to help address a whole range of community needs. In a recent letter of support, Senator Reid, who held his 2023 Library Town Hall meeting in West Warwick, described us as a shining example of how a library anchors community. We support the West Warwick community in a whole host of ways through our own programs and initiatives. For example, last summer, the library served over 1,200 free lunches to local children and teens. Our food and personal care pantry is accessible to all of our patrons and is used on a daily basis. And our exercise classes often attract more than 40 participants. We also offer resources through organizations with whom we partner and whose programs we host. This ranges from free tax preparation services for residents provided by the AARP, to support for the unemployed and underemployed by Rhode Island Job Club, to a diabetes prevention program run by West Bay Community Action. We also function as a meeting space and a venue for all sorts of groups, large and small, statewide and local, with one of the more recent examples being the RIPTA public hearings that were conducted at the library a few weeks ago, and which we will host again in April. We are constantly looking to reach out to underserved groups within our community. In September of last year, we were honored to partner with the VA to host the 2023 Community Mental Health Summit, addressing issues of mental health and suicide prevention among veterans, and at which Senator Whitehouse was the keynote speaker. Continuing that outreach to the veteran community, the 5th anthology to be published by the library this summer will consist of writing by veterans who have participated in a guided writing and editing program that began at the library last fall. Last year also marked the 25th anniversary of our Literacy Department's English Language Learners Program, and our most recent initiative is to reach out to non-native English speakers within our community. In addition to the language and citizenship classes we offer, we have enhanced our collection of Spanish language books through a donation from Centerville Bank, and our staff now includes 4 Spanish speakers to welcome and introduce new patrons to everything the library has to offer. The budget you have in front of you reflects increases in a number of areas. Some of these have been provided by Kristen, such as the increases on the medical, dental, and electricity lines. We will also be subject to the mandated increase to the minimum wage at the beginning of 2025, which affects almost all of our part-time staff. As the council also knows, one of my goals is to bring the salaries of my staff up to a level that is commensurate with other libraries serving a similar population. My approach to this issue has been to seek reasonable incremental increases each time I've appeared before you. And both the staff and myself appreciate the progress that has been made to date. It remains the case, however, that our salary levels continue to lag behind other libraries, and I'd be happy to share some specific examples of those differences if you're interested in hearing them. To give you a general sense, however, using the most recently publicly available figures, a librarian at West Warwick is making almost 20% less than the average for Rhode Island libraries serving a similar population. So for fiscal 25, my request also includes an increase on the salary line to help me recruit and also retain the outstanding library staff that serve the West Warwick community. Happy to take any questions.
Any questions for Colin?
I won, Colin. I know last year, the council added another $20,000 in addition to what you had asked
Yeah.
for. So I just question this number. So we have roughly 3 months to go, so 1 quarter. And we adopted 513,000 in salaries. And we've spent 312.
Yeah.
So which is, so there's $200,000 left. Can you, it doesn't look like we're gonna hit 513.
So
So can you explain that?
I can explain it. We had, at one point, we had 5 positions open. So again, that's to do with attrition of staff leaving to take other positions. The difficulty in replacing staff. And, you know, this is a kind of circular problem because of the salaries we offer. It's often hard to attract staff. So you know, the reason for that amount of expenditure at this time of the year reflects the fact that we have had positions open for an extended period of time. We've actually now just very recently filled all of those positions.
Sure, full staff now?
Yes.
So going forward, so as the salaries for West Warwick, say it increases by, all right, I'm just gonna throw a number, say it increases by 3%.
Mhm.
Do all the other cities and towns increase by 3%? So we're never going to get that position that you want, as far as even being in the middle, we're always gonna be at the bottom.
Well, I mean, that's impossible for me to say because, first of all, the libraries are funded in different ways. So there are libraries funded by a town appropriation. There are libraries that are standalone nonprofits, which perhaps receive funding from the town.
Do we catch up at all? As far as
I
from
mean,
last year to this year?
We are catching up, yeah.
At
So,
least we don't fall further behind.
yeah, so as I said, my approach has been to come to you asking what I think of you know, I'm not gonna come to you and say there's this huge disparity and I want to, I want it eliminated this year. You know, I'm trying to be realistic. So I think we are slowly catching up.
Okay.
So, but I, you know, I can't speak for what other libraries
Okay.
do or don't do in terms of what they appropriate from their own municipality.
So we're slowly closing the gap.
Yes, we are.
Okay.
And it really makes a difference because, as I said, one of the issues is trying to get the best qualified, best staff that I can. You know, and it's been the case, we lost another full-time person, at the end of last year, moved to a library system in Providence. But that gap, I was able to make a kind of a better argument for staying because that gap is starting to narrow. So, and that's where I want to see us right around the kind of median. You know, the libraries are divided by the size of population that they serve, and we're in a band between 20,000 and 50,000. So, you know,
Where is that? As far, you said that band, are we on the, along with all the other libraries, are we in the middle with that survey?
no,
or are we?
we're towards the bottom. There's one outlier library that falls within that band, which is Central Hall, which, you know, has had, again, I don't want to speak about that library or municipality, but they've
an issue.
struggled over a very long period of time. So we're towards, you know, the bottom end of that band.
Okay.
But as I said, we're slowly, I hope slowly but surely kind of making progress in that regard.
Thank you.
Any other questions for Colin? Thank you, Colin.
Okay, thank you.
Senior Center, you want to just fill in on that one?
Certainly, on behalf of,
I'm gonna recuse myself on this portion of the meeting.
Director Murray sent me a few notes. He said, with regards to the additional ask, if you notice, which is $10,000 more than last year, he reported that this upcoming year, they were disappointed to learn that they did not qualify for CDBG funding. That funding had helped them continue to serve the community with their many quality services, inclusive of the free transportation program and having a part-time nurse on site to monitor blood pressure, glucose levels, and oxygen levels, and also be someone that the seniors could talk to about day-to-day physical and mental health concerns. He just noted that she recorded slightly more than 1,500 visits. So they said they would use that $10,000 additional to their budget to help support and maintain those programs. And obviously, he understands the town also has other obligations and sensitive to the town's needs.
Any questions for Mark on Senior Center? Thank you.
I just wanna clarify that I'm gonna be recusing myself from any of the senior center votes, but I am able to vote on the whole budget from the ethics ruling last year until at some point try to get a better ruling. Or if not, I'm gonna drop off that board because it's a deeper conversation. I don't wanna go too deep in the wind, but I'll be recusing myself from any senior center votes, but I can vote on the budget as a whole, which includes the senior center, just to clarify.
Next, for Lickner.
Good evening.
Hi, Rose.
Most of the budget is contractual. Our supplies and expenses, we usually have like an $11,000 budget, but we took 1751 and we put it in its own line item for the lease payment for the copier scanner and printer. The postage, we are budgeting 7,500 versus 12,000 due to the fact that we don't have motor vehicles being printed out anymore, and also tangible taxes are gonna be decreased as well, in the upcoming year. So that'll be a savings of 4,500. Or we just estimated it. So. And computer services, they broke it down. where the 413 is for online tax rolls. And then the software it did go up a bit, and it's due to the new Vision 2.0 upgrade we received. And that's about it. Everything else is, Kristen puts a lot of those numbers in.
Any questions for Rose or Kristen?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Fire.
Where?
All right, so during the calendar year of 2023, the West Warwick Fire Department has been extremely busy in meeting the current and future needs of our community. We've responded to 8,378 calls during the year, and that is about a 14% increase over the past 3 years. Roughly 6,000 of those calls were EMS related, and about 10% of that, about 500, were cardiac related. Of that, we resuscitated 41 times, and we had a successful return of spontaneous circulation 14 times, which gave us a percentage rate of about 34% effective rate during CPR, which I thought was noteworthy. West Warwick firefighters continue to train an active shooter hostile event response. Each riding position is assigned a ballistic protective equipment. So each of the guys have been trained to the national standards, and we continue to prepare for that worst day. While our firefighters continue to train for the worst, we are engaging the community for a better tomorrow. Our mobile integrated health community paramedicine program has provided the citizens of West Warwick with services for almost a year. Thanks to the dedicated team led by Lieutenant Ryan Simcoe, the West Warwick Mobile Integrated Health Program is leading the state in visits and in interventions. This program was made possible by a grant from the Rhode Island Department of Health. We are partnering with Kent County Hospital, Thunder Mist Health, Thrive Behavioral Health, and other medical health providers to help residents at their home and reduce emergency room visits and doctor office visits. Quick breakdown of the 2,000 fire-related calls. We had 27 structure fires, 143 cooking fires, 9 boiler fires, and 5 chimney fires. The budget for the fire department has an increase of about $135,401, which is about 1% from last fiscal year. Are there any questions on the fire budget?
Chief, gonna ask, and I probably ask almost every year, do we have enough in overtime? I mean, I know,
So we're increasing overtime by 100,000.
but it's still 200,000 less than 23, 22, 300,000 less than 22 and 21.
So we, right now, we have one person in the academy who will make us pretty much even. We have one person returning from military service. He was away for just about 5 years. We did staff his position, but through attrition, we didn't fill when he was getting close to coming back. So by June, and especially by this fiscal year, we should be up to full staffing. Okay, so a lot of that is from that.
And how are we looking for overtime this year? We're gonna stand at a 1.4? Or you think we're gonna go a little over?
I think my anticipation right now is just short of 300,000 over budget on that particular item. I'm hoping to cut that a little bit short, but we're coming into a time where there is some overtime, so in May, June.
Any other questions for the chief?
Chief, turnout gear.
Yes.
Are we ordering, I think I ask this every year.
Yeah, yep,
I
and
know
it-
things
so,
go
well,
up, but
it's just really been the last 2 years, there's been a shortage of the, materials to make the structural gears.
Yeah.
So, in addition, we've had some, challenges in doing our annual inspections and, getting them to code to identify which turnout gear we're gonna be replacing. But that is, that is engineered to replace over a period of time, so we don't have to go out and buy everybody a set of gear in 1 year.
right.
We're trying to budget, so we're buying a certain amount every year.
Chris, this is more of a question for you. Holiday, have we included Juneteenth?
Well, it's not incorporated, oh, for next year? Yeah. No, because it's part of negotiation.
It's not reflected.
Huh?
It's not reflected in the budget.
No. That's why I'm asking, like.
Part of negotiations.
Would be-
Yes.
So it's a federal holiday now, right? So so state and federal holiday. I know it's negotiations, but it's a holiday. And realistically, it's federal and state, we're gonna have a problem unless we get one back. Some,
Ding, ding, ding.
I know that's probably what's happening, but I just want to make it clear, if that doesn't happen, there's one more holiday in this budget.
Outside of
Right.
collective bargaining.
Yes.
So if that were the case, because it's a holiday this June, that money comes out of short, the overtime, correct?
No.
So we'll, this year, depending on how we decide to handle it, and obviously that will make an administrative call on, are we open and paying overtime? Are we gonna close and people have the day off? Will affect the lines
Okay.
appropriately.
Okay,
Well, for police, fire that are on mandatory
24 hours.
24/7.
Right.
If that's,
Most likely, it'll be treated like they would any other holiday. We'll just be over budget in a holiday this year.
that's my point, kind of. And specifically, I know you can close down town hall, you can close down DPW, but police and fire, you can't close down. So obviously, that's gonna be some sort of, and again, I know it's probably negotiations and I. shut up now.
Too late.
I don't know how far
He
you guys
wouldn't have
got.
seen it if he didn't have his glasses, so we.
Yeah.
I know, it's a
Yeah.
bit, 10 minutes later or earlier, I wouldn't have been asking these questions.
Yeah.
Okay, chief, I'll change the subject.
Yeah, good idea.
I see a little bit of a discrepancy in training between you and the town manager. Can you speak to that a little bit?
Yeah, so, training has been a priority for me, and, trying to get the guys to go to different trainings as far and as best training that we can. So, that's, we've been meeting that budget. We need to transition some of the training expenses from the categories they're in, which some of that is overtime, needs to get transferred back to the training account. Okay, so we've spent money that isn't showing currently in the budget. And, I think when we do that, it ends up being all of what that budget is.
Okay, and do you think the turnout gear will get to budget this year too? I mean, you're at 33,653.
Right, so, we're trying,
Okay.
So again, there's
Alright.
material shortage
Yep.
with the Nomex.
Okay.
And,
No.
no, that's it. So that's kind of where we are with that.
Would it make sense, if that's gonna be the case, and do you foresee it being the case next year and possibly?
Possibly.
Would this be something that we would want to remove from the operating budget and put it in as a capital? Because it can be rolled over, so that way, if we're short and you can't spend it this year,
Ooh, I like that idea.
thank you. But this way, like, if you can't spend it this year, the money is still there, knowing we're gonna need it anyway.
Yeah.
So it doesn't restrict you, and then when you can get it, obviously, you're probably gonna, if you need 10,
Mhm.
and you can get 15,
Yeah.
Might as well get the 15 because we can get it at that same time, you know?
Okay.
Does that make,
Right.
make sense?
But the problem is, if we overspend somewhere else, gotta make up from somewhere.
What do you mean?
Just say.
So if he's overtime, if his overtime's over 300,000 and he has 50,000 left over for turnout gear this year, that 50,000 has to go towards something, right? Or where do you get the 300,000? It's come.
Normally, if overtime's over that much, it's because they have lack of staff, so the salaries are gonna be down. That's usually where the offset is.
But the turnout gear is, I'm just thinking it's a, you need it.
Yeah.
It's a necessity, so it's not like you're not going to get it.
Yeah, if you don't get it now, you're gonna.
It doesn't matter either way to me. It's just, to me, I think it'd be easier to manage and be less stressful.
Would be. Would be. So,
An
For me.
option.
okay. Anything else? Go to EMA. So, the West Warwick Emergency Management Agency has been very active.
Oh, yeah. You've been more active than the AM director.
From warming centers, to emergency shelters for flooding victims, to transporting residents, from their apartment buildings, after, interior water damage. You know, the, additional staff, I think, is definitely needed to meet the needs of the community. Flood planning, the unhoused population, SARA Title II, SARA Title III, Tier 2 reporting is another aspect of emergency management that, you know, is in need of additional.
So are you looking at creating another position or just having a pot of money to,
I believe a part-time position
yeah, boy,
Would be-
just, yeah, just.
would be the goal. I
So is
believe
that-
right
sorry.
now would be a part-time position, trying to get someone to come in, and fill. You
Yeah,
wanna-
so this was my ad. Obviously, we're working hard on a couple different angles to get some assistance to the chief since he's wearing so many hats, and we'd like to pass a couple of them off, or at least the visor, to another person or persons. So one way of doing it was looking for an assistant fire chief that's part of collective bargaining, and that has a host of pros and cons. The second one is to potentially do a part-time EMA director. So that's why I added the 30,000 there, which that number to me that's the maximum a retiree could work, and still be able to be pensionable. So just, you know, having general conversations with the chief on the duties and the time commitment. I just put that number in there as a placeholder. And then the second one under that, the stipend for the director I added that as to help offset some of the time and duty increases that the chief has taken on as the director over the last 3+ years now.
Chief, I'm just curious, what do you, time-wise, say the hours, on average, hours per week, say?
It's hard. Some weeks it's 20 to 30 hours, you know, other weeks it's.
In,
just a few.
in addition to your fire chief duties?
Well, because I'm doing both roles, so I will be doing EMA stuff while I'm in the chief's office,
Okay,
you know, so.
And mind you, there's been nights, the chief has been out overnight with, you know, weekends and.
How was your Saturday night? Okay. Yeah,
Good.
yeah.
he was
Anybody,
out-
none of you guys, I put a code red message out to everybody down in Natick. I was able to just draw it, so I didn't alert the whole town, just the people where the anticipated flooding was,
he
a
put it on
concern.
Street.
So they got woken up, well, it was probably 11:15 or so, 11:30. When NOAA changed the forecast up and it was going, they bumped it up to 12.6 feet, which would have flooded up to River Street in that area.
It looks like they were prepared this time because they moved everything.
They did move everything.
So we did,
Yeah.
we have a good communication system, I think, working right now with, the businesses down there.
No, and with the chief, I know we bumped into each other on the roads and during these storms and whatever. and
He wasn't, he
Nonstop.
wasn't on the news though.
I wasn't supposed to be
Yeah.
either. I was running out of gas and I went over.
You did a great job.
There's a lot more to the story, but they didn't share it. But we gave him 2 days extra off and I kind of laughed because the next week he was out there and he was at this, January 15th or the 9th storm. And, like, you're never gonna get your 2 days. It just doesn't
Okay.
work that way. I
Okay.
guess. Hopefully we have a dry summer.
Yeah, thanking him for after ranking season.
Yeah.
So are you looking, when you're looking at a position, are you looking at a weekly 10, 15-hour position, or are you looking at just as needed?
I think we can justify we'll have to talk about a certain amount of hours a week because EMA is, like you said, has been wearing many hats, whether it's flood response. Now we're dealing with sort of a prolonged drainage review. But I really want someone that can help us manage our opioid funds to help, do those solicitations, help get the programs, vet proposals that we can get from various people in social service and community partners, and just kind of help track that. So I think we can more than justify some hours, and then obviously have an extra body that can help take the edge off the 24/7 capabilities.
And this is what you do now, correct?
It
With
is, and there are some meetings I just don't make with the Rhode Island Association of Emergency Managers,
Okay.
there's just so many things I just,
And the
So it would
truth
be
is,
good to
there's enough paperwork right now with everything that's going on that you'd keep somebody busy for
oh, yeah.
many hours a week. Yeah.
Any questions for the chief?
Thank you.
Thank you. Police department.
Thank you.
Thanks, Chief.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
So this is just my cheat sheet that I just handed out. It breaks down, some of the highlights and increases and decreases, but, good evening, council. Obviously, the West Warwick Police Department, my men and women, continue to serve the town of West Warwick with, courage, sacrifice, and devotion. It's been an extremely busy year this year, especially considering the natural weather events, time consuming, overtime creating, dangerous situations that we've been thrust into. And again, I'll say it, Chief Ferone is fantastic as an EMA director, as just a fellow department head. Jeff Caldwell, second to none when it comes to DPW responses. So we've been fortunate that we have that relationship because we're able to streamline the processes and get people out there where we need to get them and get people to safety, especially during it seems like 15 floods that we've had this year. So with that being said, one of the biggest highlights that we have is obviously overtime expenditures in my budget. With, not having the ability to adequately fill vacancies. We just don't get the applicants. We don't get highly qualified applicants. People don't want the police job any longer. It seems that way. And that's not a West Warwick thing. That's statewide, that's nationwide. We continue to have holes in our department structure. Those holes generally end up in the patrol division, which means that they create overtime every single day. It's not once in a while, it's every single day that we're having overtime. We've had an abundance of military deployments out of the patrol division. We've had maternity leave, paternity leave, on-the-job injury, off-the-job injury, on-the-job illness, off-the-job illness, and all of those kind of hurt our overtime expenditure line item. As you can see from the highlight document, the increases up at the top, $227,116, basically are from Kristen. She provides most of those numbers. They're directly related to salary increases and a couple of decreases, as well as benefit increases and decreases. So the $227,116 are directly related to salary and benefit increases. Down below, there's a total, if you read through them, there's a total of $527 increase. Some of the stuff is just reallocation of money where the software line item went up, it had a $53,148 increase because it's a brand new line item. That money was taken mostly out of the computer services line item. It was broken apart based on a recommendation from Kristen and the reporting guidelines there. Same thing with the lease payments. That's a brand new line item. Most of that money, item, the $7,924 came out of the police copy machine expenditures and some of the computer services. So when you look at that bottom grouping of numbers, the total increase with the decreases and increases is $527 total. So I'm looking for a total budgetary increase of $227,643, which is just under 2% of my budget.
Where are you now as far as, and I read what you said, and I didn't have any questions on it, so I can get back. Where are you now as far as staffing? Are you
Well,
close to your full staff, to full staff?
well, on paper, we're close, but that doesn't take into account, we had a candidate in the police academy. He's no longer with us. That's a definite vacancy. We have a detective who's retiring in July. So that's going to be another vacancy. We have a long-term on-the-job injury, who's in the process of being vetted for his ability to continue employment with us. I don't want to say too much. We also have a 3-year and 22-day deployment military. We have a gentleman just coming back from a 1-year deployment. So he was going for an entire year out of the patrol division. And just weeks before he left, another officer came back from a full year deployment. So military deployments are tough. So it's tough to give you a number. We're down one person, right this second, we're down. It's going to be 2 in July, but that's also, we also have other people out. We had an officer that was injured about 2 weeks ago. It was in my weekly information. He just confirmed today that there was a significant injury that's going to require surgery. He's a patrol officer. He's going to be out for 3 months. And that means every single day he's being replaced at time of 1.5.
So I know for many years that I've been here, it's been a lot of the same, we're down. And I'm gonna ask the same question I asked every year. What is the plan to replace these positions? Is it just the academy?
That's the only, not that it's the only,
Is anybody making a lateral move?
no, nobody's, we don't see any interest in lateral moves coming to the Westwater Police Department,
Okay.
for a couple of reasons. One, our salary. They're gonna go to higher paying police departments. Right now, it's kind of a buyer's market. If you're an able-bodied, professional who has a clean background, clean medical, and are willing to work, you kind of have your pick of police departments you want to be a police officer in. That's both entry-level, brand-new police officers as well as laterals. And when you have a neighboring police department paying $18,000 more a year to start, you're going to go to that police department. Other departments are also incentivizing it with lateral transfer incentives. We don't do that. I've been kind of against that, to be quite honest with you. But I'll say it too. If you're a retiree, West Warwick's probably not a retiree police officer community. You're going to be busy here. Maybe a smaller, less active police department would be beneficial to somebody that has already served 20, 25 years in law enforcement.
In a bleak picture.
I didn't say, listen, I'm not saying anything. Because sometimes the smaller towns have their own, issues that pick them up.
Jason Emu.
Yeah.
True story.
That was once and it was an ostrich.
That was in Johnston. Right? That was the other thing that was
Yeah.
missing.
Any questions for the chief?
I want to suggest, but you've explained it so well. I find it, like everybody, frustrating that you just can't, there's staffed versus working. And that number is always going to have a gap in any business. It's tough in your line of work and obviously with the fire department, but I'd love to find ways or listen to ways that you think we might be able to close that gap.
Yeah, it's difficult. I mean, we're fortunate because, I look at the glass kind of half full. I mean, we were down 13 bodies
Right.
2.5,
Right.
3 years ago. We've made significant strides, but I'm always looking for that. Let's just get to full staff, but the reality is, unfortunately with our line of work, people are going to get injured. People are going to, be ill. I guess the good things are they're gonna have children, so like maternity and paternity leave. But at the end of the day, it does create a vacancy. I don't think our officers are hurt more than other agencies. I don't think, I will say that I believe, and I've never done any statistics on it, I'm relatively confident in saying our percentage of military officers are probably extremely high compared to the rest of the state, which again, bringing veterans on, bringing active military people brings a whole host of good skills and mindsets that we can really use in law enforcement, especially in the leadership roles. However, the offset is when they do get deployed, if they're in the patrol division especially, it's going to create that vacancy that's gonna cost them overtime.
So with the overtime numbers the way they are, and obviously, this is just thinking out loud. Would it be better financially for the town if we just had, considering that we could fill the positions, additional position? In other words, would that cut down, would that eat into that gap?
So I believe yes, and this is just a quick conversation without delving too deep into it. If we had, quote, extra police officers on each shift, where if the first or second police officer was out sick, injured, deployed, maternity, paternity, and that person could fill that position, that'd be fantastic. It wouldn't be an overtime position. I think that you'd have to hire so many extra. And like I said, I can't hire the vacancies that we have now. So to try to find, instead of 2 qualified individuals to get onto the police department, now you want me to get 6 or 7, that's really not happening. I mean, one thing I'm not gonna do is put somebody that I don't believe is going to be successful and be a good representation of the West Warwick Police Department out in the community. I'm not gonna fill a hole just to fill a hole. I mean, it's unfortunate, but that's, my name's going on their letter to go to the police academy, and I take that very seriously. So yes, it would be great if we had an extra police officer on every shift to fill that first vacancy. But you know what's gonna happen? The first time we do that, everybody's gonna come to work that day. Yeah, so that's how I think it'll happen, but,
When's the next academy?
it'll be, first week of August. So we have a process right now. We have a process now, and we had 15 applicants. Only 9 filled out the paperwork properly and
For the August
submitted
academy?
for the August Academy. We had an interview today, and the potential, the applicant didn't bother showing up, no phone call, no email, no Facebook, just pulling a no-show. And honestly, I, as much as it bothers me, it's not unexpected. Again, when I got hired, 421 people applied. You had some competition. Right now, there's no competition. The competition is between the police departments. It's not between the applicants. So it's a struggle to hire. It really, really is. Yeah.
Only we were 20 years younger.
I'm gonna join the academy at 50.
Less than half a day.
Any questions for the chief? Thank you, chief.
Thank you.
Thank you.
DPW.
Good evening, Rocco.
And Jeff,
Evening, Jeff.
Just in the last year, DPW, we've completed 43 drain repairs or replaced drains, 26 sidewalk repairs or redoing, putting in new sidewalks, 6 major drain projects we've done, Fox Run, East Greenwich Avenue, Wilson Street, Louise Drive, Pond Street, and Nolan Street. Were all major drain projects which have been successful. They fixed the problem that they were having over there. Not to mention other several projects we've completed this year. So, DPW is on a good path, and, good things are happening.
Any questions on the budget? Listen, I had a long weekend myself.
We were in there together, weren't we? Definitely, you've had a long day today.
Yeah.
Any questions for Jeff? Jeff, I know last year we put some money in the sidewalk repair and it looked like it's increased this year. How's that going?
Actually, last year I thought we were gonna have a major problem with the budget that you gave us to do sidewalks, but we got, 26 sidewalks done, which is a heck of a lot more than I thought we would get done. We prioritized and we did, portions of some sidewalks and other ones we did whole sidewalks. So, we got a lot done. I was very happy with the amount of sidewalks that we were able to get done with the budget that we had. So, I think we can do the same amount this year. If, obviously, we know there's a ton of sidewalks to get done.
Well, we saw a lot of side walls that needed.
Well, that too. Oh, boy. Then you could put that budget a heck of a lot more than that, but, I think what we have to do is what we've been doing, is prioritizing them and, trying to make people understand that, you know, we understand your sidewalk needs to get done, but this one is more of a hazard than yours. And it's tough to do that when you're a homeowner and you feel that it's a hazard, but somebody else is a
Talked
dirt.
about it with, even with the drainage, right?
Yeah,
Some
yeah.
issues are, it's not that, everybody's not a priority, but there's totally different levels of like
Right,
need.
and
When
it's-
somebody's underwater, that's different than if there's a little bit of water on the sidewalk.
Absolutely, and it's tough to make them understand, but for the most part, the residents have been fantastic, and we put them on the list, and, you know, we get to them in a reasonable
You're
amount of
super
time.
great with when we reach out, and I know that there's sometimes when I play more often than, no offense, that I don't want to talk to you. Not for those things, but you're always quick to either call me back or call the constituents back, and I never hear anything but positive feedback from you, so they may get mad at some of the other people tearing up roads that have nothing to do with us, but they definitely appreciate you calling them back, so.
And if you notice, the only other place we really went up was pavement markings. And the reason we did that was because of, this year, I would like to put on Factory Street, the London Turnpike, I'd like to put the better quality reflective, marking paint on there, so it lasts longer. And it can be seen better at night. So that's one of the reasons we went up there.
That was on Factory or on New London?
Factory, I want to do Factory Street by the schools. I'd like to put the reflective stuff on Factory.
Because you just
Street.
created the question in my mind, who takes care of New London? Is that us or is that?
That's
Will?
us.
That's us.
Yeah, that was just done last fall. The new paved section from Factory Street down to Providence Street was just lined last fall.
Okay.
So we really, for all intents and purposes, don't have to do that again until next year. And when we do that, I would like to put the better quality reflective on it.
Just a couple of questions.
Sure.
And the clothing line,
Mhm.
all the numbers are all over the place as far as the actual for 2023 versus the adopted for last year, the actual for the clothing for this year, and then your request and then the managers. So what, again, it's a pittance to everything, but it doesn't make sense. So
Well, when they first started the clothing as far as the uniform service, back when former directors were here, we only had so many employees, so I think we had 9 employees at the time. So it was a smaller number. Now we have 24 employees, so the number goes up every week, so it's.
so it's based on the amount of employees.
The more amount of employees we have, the uniform service, and some of it is actually, contractual.
Okay.
So, you know, so the contract is unavoidable.
And if you remember, we've had several different programs. I think 5 years ago, it was a straight stipend, go out and get what you need. Here's money, go out and get what you need. And then previous director switched it to a uniform service predominantly, which had some cost issues and they didn't really need all of what they were getting. So we're tweaking it again. That's also part of negotiations to try to make it more economical and not waste.
I believe it, if I'm not speaking out of turn, it started out when the uniform service started at 100 and change a week. Now it's 5, almost 600 a week, so there's a significant difference.
Okay. I have one more question.
Sure.
On the rubbish contract, that's mega, correct?
Mm-hmm.
At what point are we, did we have a 5-year contract with Mega? Do you know? When is the 5 years up?
We got 2 more years, don't we? One more year after this one.
All right, so that'll be in the next FY 2026 budget for a,
They have a clause built in,
I think it's just 3% every year. Yeah. That's obviously unavoidable.
Jeff, forgive me for being naive, but what are major needs winter? What goes? what falls into that?
Salt.
I figured it was something like that. but I
Salt
wasn't
and-
sure, So,
And salt, depending on the year, I mean, last year, previous year, it was $77 a ton. This year, it actually went down to $74 a ton. But we haven't had as much actual snow as we've had ice. So with ice, we use a lot more salt. Snow, you don't have to use as much salt because you're only pre-treating and really treating at the end unless you have a lot of hills and corners on your route. So it really depends on the storm.
obviously, that's a tough one to predict.
It's very hard and.
I just noticed that in
We're being
previous
conservative,
years,
you're right.
we were way up there.
I
past
mean,
what we're-
you could put that up, the sky's the limit, really. You just, you have one bad year and to be honest with you, I can tell you to get, 300 ton of salt. Okay, that's usually what I get per delivery. You're looking at between 32 and 35,000 right there, just for those 300 ton. And we go through an average of roughly, depending on the storm, about 200 to 250 ton per storm.
Any questions, any further questions for Jeff? Thank you, Jeff.
We got parks next.
Parks and Rec.
Roaming rec.
Oh, you got two
yeah,
bunnies.
the change his hat with the Parks and Rec hat on.
I don't have a big speech on parks either. But, if all of you get a chance, please take a ride up the flat top. They did a fantastic job up there. Yeah. They did a fantastic job up there. I'm very proud of the work that the parks guys did up there. They put their heart and soul into that. Obviously, we didn't put the structures up, but everything else they did, and they did a fantastic job. All the buildings at River Point have been repainted and repaired. We're replacing some stairs going up to some of the outbuildings. Obviously, you see 5 of the baseball fields have been redone over there. They're coming to do 2 more of them, April 22nd, they're gonna start them. And obviously, we have the new lighting over there and everything, so Parks is looking fantastic. We get nothing but compliments from the teams that come into River Point to play there. People are, wanting to play there, so it's a good thing.
Any questions for Jeff? On the park? Thanks, Jeff. Capitol. Who wants to cover capital?
Take it one department at a time.
Yeah, sure.
Chief Roan, you want to go first with your fire capital?
Lisa and us, Frank?
They have luckily a couple funding sources, so
Yeah.
we've been
Must be
blessed.
rich.
Right.
Look, you smile.
Saving it for a new station, big one.
Chief, you got on, Station 2 repairs for 4 bathroom, Station 3 bathroom, Station 4, maybe I'll let you go.
Yeah, no, so we've been trying to, get some repairs done to the stations. The stations were all built in the, Station 2 is questionable. They say 1910. I think it was prior to that. In like the 60s and 70s for Stations 3 and 4. So they weren't made for, multi-gender bathrooms. Facilities are very small, so we have been working toward getting enough money to make a substantial renovation to the stations. So I think that is the most, the bathroom is probably the biggest aspect of it. So right now, with Station 2 in the shape it's in, we have, we're waiting to get back. We've had a structural engineer in, he's done his drawings, sent that to the trust. Trust has talked about it, sent it to Clean Care. We're waiting to get a, cost from Clean Care, and then what the trust is going to provide us, to do those renovations. So these, capital, although that wasn't the intention there, would more than likely be put in along with that. Yes,
That's for that station, correct?
that's for that station.
Do you have any other funding sources towards these repairs?
Not for fire station. There was something for grants that was proposed in the US Congress, but it's in subcommittee and hasn't come out. So, we want to, obviously, if that does come up, it is something we would take advantage of.
Would you be, I mean, obviously put it in, you want it. But would you be willing to do something like one bathroom done this year, one bathroom done next year, one bathroom done the year after? So you split out the capital, so it's not a big
And I
hit at
think-
once?
Yeah, oh no, absolutely. I'm putting in the budget like this, but I'm trying to get it into a pool so we can do one renovation. Absolutely. It's going to be substantially more than what that is.
Right. The air packs and the hose.
Yes, so the air packs, we submitted a, AFG grant, okay? That is a 90-10 split. The grant is for $450 change $1,000. We have to come up with $45,000 to be the match on that. We'd have 2 years, 2-year period of performance if we're successful in the grant. To be able to do that, this capital can roll over. You can put in what we need. They don't always fund you exactly what you put in for.
So this is, you put in for 21, this would be 21 this year, 21 next year?
Yeah.
So once you commit to the 21 this year, you have to commit to the 21 next year? Correct.
You can do what you want, you know, next year.
But if it's over a
But
2-year period, then,
It would be over a 2-year period, and we would take money from capital. I believe that there is some money in capital right now from SCBA. Just like we did the turnout gear, it was my plan to try to buy a few a year.
Yeah.
A few air packs a year. They're about $7,500 to $8,000 each. The problem with that is each year the manufacturers change some of the ergonomics on them. And so you don't want to have like 5 different styles that the guys have to, like, as they're trying to breathe, search around. You want to keep things streamlined and the same. So it just makes sense to try and get those all the same.
so you really want them all at once?
You do. So we're trying to, but this is a mechanism to get the funding, by putting a few in each year. If we're not successful, obviously that would be a big ask. And in addition, we're also losing some air packs. They have a 20-year life expectancy. And we do have some 2003s that we had to get rid of, some 2004, 2003, 2004s that are now at that 20-year mark that we no longer can use.
So what happens with those? Are they
Uh,
just garbage or?
Yes, they would have to be disposed of properly. There is a mechanism to send them to other countries, but you bring on some liability in giving somebody something that isn't certified. So we would look to try and trade them in for parts or something else that might be able to be used.
So they're good in other countries, not here.
So there are programs like that. We have not done.
Any questions for the chief on his capital? Thank you, chief.
Thank you.
DPW capital, just says new trucks. He's got a 2003 GMC.
I wanted to know, I'm only asking for a few. Chief told me to ask for 13. So,
He set you up.
He said he's gonna let you borrow some of his ones.
four of my six-wheel trucks, six-wheelers are no longer serviceable. They will not be inspected. They will not pass inspection. The frames are rotten. One of them, the cab's coming right off the chassis. I need to replace them. There's several different ways we can do it. We can go with smaller trucks, used trucks. My problem, I want to say my problem, my concern is in the summertime, the bigger trucks, they sit a lot, you know that as well as I do. The little trucks are used more. But I need to replace, whether I replace all four of them or just a few of them, I need to replace those trucks for our snowplow and fleet. With the amount of trucks we have, just in the last storm we had alone, normally with an 8-10 inch storm, you're talking 6 to 8 hours of cleanup, if not a little longer after a storm. We had that storm cleaned up in 4 hours, which is significant savings, obviously, on overtime and everything, so. We need to replace them, unfortunately. They're 24 years old, 23 years old, sorry. And they just passed their prime in the mechanics. I have several, I don't have them with me because I didn't know if you guys wanted, I have several pictures of the trucks, the problems with them. They just will not pass inspection.
There was some discussion, maybe last year, the year before,
Mhm.
about six-wheelers not being the best used here in West Warwick.
Yep, no, that was me, yep, and, I have two. One is 2 years old, and the other one's a year old, so I have two of them.
Yep.
I don't necessarily need six wheels, I can use 1 tons or 450s,
Yeah.
if you will. I have managed, to, talk with the sewer plant with their truck, we're gonna use their truck also. With big trucks, just to give you a little history. 2 years ago, when we bought one of the Internationals, it was 182,000 complete, and we had to wait 2 years for that truck.
Yep.
Now that same truck, even though there isn't such a long waiting period, is $245,000 for one truck.
Right.
I said, if you take 245,000, I can get at least 3 450s for $245,000. I showed you that with the 4 we bought.
Right.
Also, it's, to me,
I would agree with you that the six-wheeler doesn't make sense.
no, I have one, I'm gonna, the 10-wheel that I got from the sewer plant, I am going to put a plow and a sander on that, so that gives me a third one. However you guys decide to wanna do it, I can make it work, but to me, you don't need the,
So what's one truck? Because we have 250,000 for 4 trucks. Was that just simple math dividing? it
well,
up?
what my thought process was at the time was buy a couple of, brand new 450s and buy a couple used 6-wheelers. But if you give me, the full amount, I can get at least 3, depending on what the price is now. They're roughly about 80,000 a piece. And when I say that, we'll get a better deal, obviously, with the MPA and buying multiple trucks.
These trucks just mostly used in snow? The
No,
snow or
the 450s will be used daily.
Right.
Those are daily drivers. The 6-wheelers, for the most part, are used for snow plowing and some hauling here and there. But I can honestly tell you, 4.5, 5 months out of the year, they're not sitting, which is, if anybody has driven a truck, it's worse for them to sit there and do nothing than it is to drive it. So they're sitting there, so you're replacing brakes, you're replacing drums, you're replacing air lines, you're replacing, oil lines, hydraulic lines, because they sit there and they dry rot the vehicle. With the 1-tons, they're used all the time. I am gonna take, 2 of our over 1-tons off the road this year and sandblast the bodies and the frames, repaint them. get, another 5, 6, 7 years out of it.
So if you're gonna get rid of a truck, that goes to the surplus, right?
Supposed to go, yeah.
Government surplus? What could you get roughly for?
You probably, to be honest with you, not.
Next to nothing.
You're just getting the weight of whatever, steel is. And it's really whatever gov deals, with whatever they want to pay for it. And we've done a lot better on gov deals than we have with the way we used to do it.
Yep.
You know, the motors in them are worth something. The bodies and they're now worth it.
So it sounds like 3 450s would be the way to go. Is that gonna be enough?
Yeah, I mean, it's,
Because you're planning on taking 4 other vehicles off the road.
I gained one from sewer.
Right.
And I got the one that I had, just purchased a few months ago, the used one, plus so we'll be right where we wanna be, right where we need to be. So. And to me, I know you guys are gonna think I'm crazy probably, but I find it very hard to buy brand new trucks just to plow snow. I'm sorry, I do, I find it.
Want a multi-use vehicle.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
it's very hard for me to purchase a $245,000 truck. And I know I'm standing up here asking for money, but to just plow snow.
Yeah, especially certain years where hopefully we don't get snow.
To me, it's crazy.
Any other questions for Jeff on the trucks? Box and Rec. We have a zero turn and a leaf flow.
Yes. And the leaf blower is actually a leaf vac. It's a vacuum for, cleaning out the parks, cleaning up the fields, stuff like that.
Like one of those tow behind.
Yeah,
Sort
it
of thing.
goes right into the back of the truck. Crompton, we usually get a ton of leaves down there. Of course, we did cut down a lot of trees down there. But a lot of our parks, instead of blowing them off into the woods, we can take and get rid of them.
But sadly, I cut that.
Huh?
But sadly, I cut that. But in
You
my
cut-
mind, I can give you notes
You
on.
got 15. I don't know which one you cut.
Oh, you should have got the, detail when I sent out everything.
Oh, all right.
Oh,
The
yeah.
new detail
Oh.
has that column with everything filled in.
I pushed forward the zero turn mower, knowing that they'd use it. The leaf vac, we kind of put that on the wish list and made a note that if and when we can move forward with, I don't want to say diverting, but dedicating some of the fee money from recreational facilities, to me, that's like an ideal purchase for that, amongst other improvements that the people who use the fields would immediately recognize and feel good about the money that was spent and earmarked for recreation upgrades and upkeep.
And with the zero turn, that would replace one of the ones that was bought a few years ago, that wasn't a commercial use, to be honest with you. It was more of a homeowner's, mower than a commercial use mower. So it would replace that. We've had very good luck with the zero turns and the Z X marks, and, I'd like to replace it with one of those, because it's just, like I said, it's more of a homeowner.
Any consideration of going electric? Just curious.
Actually, last year, I had a company bring down an electric one.
Yep.
Try it. You get 5 hours out of a battery.
Yep.
Then it takes 45 minutes to an hour to recharge it, and then you get another 2 to 3 hours out of it. So you're kind of taking time away from the day to get things done, in my personal opinion. And with all the problems they're having with the lithium batteries and everything, I'd like to stay away from them as long as possible.
Yeah,
But yes, I did try one.
Well, I mean, there was discussion at the State House
Mm.
last year that that was
I
going to be a
know.
requirement, and
And
that's
to
quite a
be
down.
honest with you, that would cost a ton more money than buying a gas-powered one in the long run.
1,500
Yep,
a piece.
yep.
Even if
And
you
and
want-
actually, the mower, the mower that I tried was actually $24,000 as opposed to an X-Mark that I can get for, 15.
So this sparks another question with parks. And I think I've asked many times, I probably overspent this like 3 times the amount, but 1721 month. with each condo that's being built and being proposed to be built is $2,500 goes into that account. And there's, just going by what Maryland's report was, what you forwarded us today, seems like there's gonna be more condos on the horizon. Do you know roughly offhand 1721 that we have?
I'll tell you in 2 seconds. But, yeah, that's before. Okay. So we've taken in 105,000 this year and spent
Oh.
30,000. But, we have a pending invoice right now for almost 29,000. I know we have,
You'll have another one coming in for, a
that
little over
project was
50.
81,000, so, in our fund balance from last year,
And what are you spending the money on now?
That money that was coming out of there now is for the playground at Flat Top.
Okay.
But if you want to give me the rest of it, I can spend it.
I'm sure you could. but-
so she said about another 50.
Yeah, 15, yeah, roughly.
So considering those two invoices, a little under 300,000, like 295,000.
Remaining. Is this something that, I mean, this is like next to nothing out of that? If they're both needs, could this be something? I'm thinking in terms of the whole town with 1721. And just because it's there, I don't think we should spend it. If it, just because we have it, but you look at the different projects that are going on, we're looking at, I know Crompton may require some of that or another source of funding for a little bit that will be remaining. But other than that, I think, you know, with all the lighting we've done, we redid the fields, we put new playgrounds in. I don't see us at the moment dipping into that anymore for a long time down the road. And then. Yeah, but that's still not, I mean, there's more money coming in for that, you know?
And I don't know the definitions. Do we know exactly what? Yeah, I know that's a broad, yeah.
It's
yeah,
wide open. Yeah, kind of like, it's really not truly defined except for, that's what I've always been told, was
Okay.
it's for recreation.
No ordinance or
Recreation.
resolution or that defines other than, I haven't seen
Go
it,
back
so,
probably a long time.
okay. Well, maybe that's something we should look at, but, yeah.
I mean, in my mind, I've always thought open space or like a significant recreation project, like we said, Flat Top. Seemed like to make sense.
Yes,
Oh,
I
definitely.
agree.
Definitely.
Yeah.
I'm also thinking too, along the lines of you have the park. And then it looks great. And then all of a sudden, what do? We have to keep up on it. We have to maintain it. So these are two things that could be used. And it's just a suggestion. But if these are two things that are going to be used at the parks, to
Correct.
maintain the facilities, I think it would fit. It's just a matter of if we want to go that route or not.
What are we doing with that other mower that you're saying is home grade?
To be honest with you, what I would do is I would turn that over to DPW to help mow the cemeteries, stuff like that. It's not,
Would that work in the cemeteries with the,
It'll-
yeah,
it'll-
yeah,
No, it'll
exactly,
work.
yeah.
it'll work in some of the cemeteries, not all of the
No.
cemeteries. Also works on the edge of the bike path, you know.
It's gonna run into the ground.
No, I don't wanna run it. I try not to do that with anything, but, you
I
know,
was gonna say, why don't we try to get rid of that now?
well, we could, you know, I might be able to work in that in as a trade-in. I don't know what we get for it, to be honest with you. But, certainly something I can look into as far as trading it in. If we go, you know, if everything works out and we go with a new mower, we can get something for it.
You can set a minimum price on gov deals too, so.
Correct, right,
Right.
right. I can see what they give us on a trade-in, and then, you know, if I don't feel that that's enough, or you don't feel that that's enough, we can set a price on gov deals and go that route.
Once you put it on gov deals, you put it for a certain amount, or it's an auction, whatever way that works. If you don't get what you would like, you have to get rid of it at that point?
No, you can set a reserve. You don't have to. You can set a reserve price. I get updates every week on gov deals, and there's stuff that doesn't sell because of, it didn't meet the reserve.
Keep it open for now. Any questions for Jeff? Thank you, Jeff. It looks,
You can do a bunch of-
I know with the capital save.
All right.
You wanna save it and do it all at once?
Yeah,
Want to
probably.
save capital for your civic center? And that's
The only other thing left was for information technology. I put in for 25,000 to supplement whatever American Rescue Plan funds I get. We're definitely in need of replacing our servers. I'd like to try to probably do that in this fiscal year, and then a significant chunk of our desktops. Trying to get to a rotational replacement plan instead of the all or nothing. We had to do it, I think, 4 or 5 years ago now. But so we want to try to get maybe right after the fiscal year starts to the first batch of desktops.
Any questions for Mark on that one? Thank you. We're on to town Sagan.
No change.
I know.
Town Sergeant.
Close enough, right?
No, I was looking at it right there in front of me, and I will say this. I don't care what we paid the town sergeant. He donated every single chair in that crowd right now, and
Yeah.
I'm sure he paid his own salary for the next 30 years. Don't say 30. Maybe more. Order canvases.
Skip the clerk.
Oh,
Town clerk.
Sorry.
It's all right, they're both me anyway.
Mhm.
All right, town clerk's budget is pretty much level funded, or contractually obligated increases. I did ask for a slight increase in the higher class pay just because, 5 years in a row, we've gone over budget, and that just due to the way that the, union contract is set up. So in order to cover my time off, we need a little bit more for that. The only other ask, is a new software program for my office, not new to town, just new to my office. That's the, permitting program we use currently for the building official. I think the fire department uses it, sewer department. It would be adding my office, for business licensing, which would allow all of our departments to communicate with each other. And it would be a platform that business owners could go on and renew online, so it'd be convenience to our customers for that, as well as making our process a little bit more streamlined. If you guys remember, we did increase the license fees in my department 6 months ago now, and that would offset the cost of what I'm asking for.
Any questions for Sarah? Thank you, Sarah. Nick? Order
All right.
canvas.
Board of Canvassers, again, it's pretty much level funded, except every other year, as you guys know, as we have a major election in fiscal year 2025. Usually I would budget 40,000 for the election, other expenses. In 2020, we received, all the municipalities in the state received a lot of grants, for that presidential election due to the times of COVID. And looking at the projection from that year to this year, I felt that 50 was a little bit more accurate rather than 40. So I asked for 10,000 more because we spent probably 15,000 in grants that year in 2020. So that would still, I think we can do it for 10 now.
Any questions for Sarah on Board of Canvassers?
I have a question.
Yeah.
On the elections.
Yeah.
Why do we have 2 polling places per ward? Is there a reason for that?
Yes, so we're obligated due to state law. So many voters can only be assigned to each precinct. And so therefore, we have to have, plus we have to have a polling location in each district as well. So you've got to follow the district lines, you have to follow the ward lines, and you have to have a polling location in each of those. So that's how it's all, we just went through that whole redistricting
Right,
thing,
right.
remember that? So that's why we have to have one.
There is legislation to
So we-
change that.
From 3,000, from
like-
3,000 to 3,500, I think, or
I thought it was a
somewhere.
little more, but
Yeah.
It is 3,000 to 3,500. The other important piece of legislation, and, you know, I'd appreciate you guys' support in speaking to our local representation, is that we're asking them to change it to active voters, because right now, even the inactive voters have to count into that 3,000. So if we can do
Yeah,
it
that'd
based
make a
on
big
active,
difference.
it
yeah.
would help us. I mean, I would love to have less polling locations. It costs me a lot less money that way, right? So this election for the PPP this year, they allowed us to reduce to 5 polling locations. So we're only doing 1 per ward next week, which saves us money, but in the general election, we'll have to open up all 10.
Thank you. Any questions on Board of Canvass? Probate.
Probate, I think is completely level funded. I don't think I asked for, besides, you know, salary increases due to, union contract. I don't think that there's any increase.
Any questions on probate? Town council. Sorry, you don't have to speak on that. You speak on it.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's level funded.
Yeah, level funded town.
I still, over the years, you know, I've talked about, I've had former council members come to me and talk about pensions for the council, healthcare for the council, and I've never been in support of either one of them, but this is gonna be one year that I definitely wanna say I'm in support of an increase in payroll for this council. Just as I think both sheets have said in DPW, we're also out there with all these floods and you name it, you know, our charter calls for 1 meeting a month, we're here 2 meetings a month. You know, there's, you know, discussion of what that payroll should be, you know. You know, I'm looking to add 10,000. I know Jay had discussion with me about it last week. And I think, you know, I don't know how anybody else feels, but I'm just throwing it out there. And I know if the town sergeant was here, he'd be up here saying you deserve a raise. And, you know, I've been on here 18 years. It's just, nothing's changed. And the council hasn't seen a raise in 40 years, to be exact. In fact, they've seen a reduction back in the 90s because they used to get the health care. So I'm throwing it out there, and if, personally, if, I don't even mind putting it as a question on the ballot. You know, but I definitely think something should be done about that.
I think the position, you know, I'm not looking at it as a raise or an
I'm
increase.
looking at a position.
I'm looking as a council position for the town of West Warwick and the value that it has. And we're also the sewer commission, which many other cities and towns don't have. So, and with that, there is the proportion amount that we get for the administrative fees from the sewer department. And we're at 10%, which means 10%, basically 10% of our time is dedicated to sewer. I think no matter if there is an increase in this or not, I think that that number should be raised. Because it's not just people, what people see is, I think I'm probably preaching to the choir out here, but what people see is, all right, what does a council consist of? Oh, you get 2 meetings a month. No, you have 2 long meetings a month, but the prep work and to go over everything, to read this budget, you know, and this isn't really the only big book that we get. You know, I spend a lot of time, and so do all the other council members. And like with the chief today, we received this from the chief. I read it. I had no questions, so I just kind of, okay, I read it, that's it. That's it. So that's why I didn't respond to him. But, we get a lot of that too. And then just going out to people's houses and phone calls. It's quite a bit. It's a job. And it's not why I do it personally, but I think the position itself should, the value is worth more. And Kristen, if the sewer admin fees would increase for the council's portion from, say, for round numbers sake, just say 10% to 20%.
Mhm.
What would that mean as far as, this budget right here, the operating?
So considering an increase to council or just not even considering a increase to council?
Both.
Okay.
Well, it's 50,000, so it's currently 5,000, it'd be 10,000, right?
What is
Town
the,
council is,
I think just for the stipend amount is
oh, is
the
that
only
all, you're
amount.
just talking about? the
Yeah,
26?
Yeah, it would just be the
Well, you gotta,
stipend. So,
well, you'd have to put the taxes in.
yeah. So
Yeah.
say for round numbers, we used
30.
15,000 as an increase to the stipends in total. And we increased the percentage for the town council in my spreadsheet. If it was, where is it here? Let's see where I have it. So for 15%, it would be a net effect of 14,000 altogether with taxes. Yeah. It would be about 14,000. And then if it was 20%, then it would be a net effect of about 10,000.
Okay,
So the increase in the sewer revenue would offset the
right.
proposed hypothetical 15,000.
Any thoughts from anybody else on the council?
Yeah, I have to be honest, I'm not, if we're gonna make cuts to others, I'm not in favor of an increase. I've had that conversation with you. I would be more in favor of putting it on a ballot and letting the people decide. But I would not be comfortable. I would not be comfortable.
You could put that as a separate, you could put up, as a separate question.
Sure. Why not? Yeah.
Oh, it could be a question.
For me
It's just a
personally-
matter of, do we get it in?
Yeah, I don't even, it's not even, and Jason said it, wouldn't be, I feel weird about it, and I've had conversations with Jason about it, but I feel like the position deserves it, and whoever comes after me deserves it, and if we put it on the ballot, then it's pretty simple, the people say yes, or they say no, and then it lies where it lies. But I think the position definitely deserves it, it's just weird, I think it's weird when you talk about it by yourself, that's kind of the weird
Right.
spot, right?
It is
It's
weird. It
always-
is weird.
it's
That's-
That
always
is how it's
difficult.
spelled out in the charter. I looked at it today. It's through the budget process,
Right,
the
it should,
voters approving the budget.
No,
Right.
but I think,
Yeah,
I think what David
but
is saying is that.
Put it as a separate, so
separate.
people can say
Right.
yes or
Yeah.
no, yes.
That would be above and beyond.
So,
what's
so
in the
you would
charter.
actually, the way you'd have to do it probably is have the budget included. And if it gets voted down, it's just a savings in the budget. Because you
Right.
couldn't go the other way.
Right,
Right.
right, yeah.
But I mean, it's small,
if we're doing it
it's
that way,
small
I'm-
money, and I agree it's small money, but it's just, the principle of it, I am not
If we're-
comfortable.
But if we're doing it for a vote and the people decide, then let the people
I
decide.
would
I
be-
have no problem with that at all.
I would be more comfortable doing it that way,
How
but
do you-
again,
how
I'm
do you
not a
feel
fan.
about as we are doing it that way.
personally, I think it should be, again, it's weird because you're talking about,
Yeah.
I'm one of 5 that we're talking about, but I think the budget is the budget. And unless it's a separate question on the budget that deals with something else other than this type of stuff. If this wasn't in the budget, we'd say yes. But
Wow, yeah,
Not pleased.
Because it's part of the budget, I would think it just goes it's a flow. It's been in the budget every year, so.
but I would hate to have that become a sticking point for the budget.
I don't think it would.
But
Only because it's such a small, it's a minor amount, you know, and we're looking at other areas where you're looking at
a
hundreds of
$15,000
thousands.
zero turn mower is a minor amount in the amount of the whole budget. So again, making cuts in some places, and that's just me personally. I'm just, yeah.
Right.
I've struggled with this since it was brought to my attention a couple weeks ago, and obviously being very new to this, it's an uncomfortable feeling. Even if it's just the perception that I'm asking for a raise. I've been here a little more than 3 months. So I understand the time commitment, believe me. It's not that I didn't know that going in. It's about what I figured, hours wise. It is significant. At this point, while I would rather defer to you folks who have been here much longer than I have, it's something I don't feel comfortable supporting at this point. It's not that it's not deserved or earned. It's just, again, I'm in a different position than most up here. You know, I've only been here a few months, and it's.
Yeah, and Mark, I've been in that position. Like I said, I've had council members ask me for their support to get a pension. And I've always felt I want to be part of the solution, not part of the problem. And I made that clear in one of the meetings. You know, like I said, back in the 90s, healthcare came to a council, right, or a council person. So if you think about what the cost of healthcare, that's probably 15,000 per council person, not just 7,500. What's
Probably more than that.
15,000?
Yeah, for family plan?
Oh, skip
no.
family, just individual. Just
Oh,
say-
if it individual,
Yeah.
yeah, a little less than 9.
So say $9,000 each. If we, in other communities, right now are getting healthcare plus, you know, $6,000, $7,000, $8,000 stipend. You know, and I don't want to be part of, I mean, trust me, I would love that healthcare compared to what I have. But, you know, I don't want to put that burden on the taxpayer knowing that's another $50,000 to $100,000 right here on stage.
Right.
You know, so, and again,
What's the total amount again? You said for the 5 of us, what would be the total amount that you just suggested?
well, I just want to
Yeah,
point
I
out,
don't-
since when I came on this council, I think minimum wage was $9.25, it's now 15. Gonna be, what, 15 change? You
Well, if-
know, Colin, what's the minimum wage going up to?
15.
$15. So just the minimum wage has seen a $6 an hour increase and again, I know the amount of hours I put in, I know the amount of hours you all put in. I know it can be very time consuming. And if you actually added 3,000 to each individual or 2,000 to each individual and still broke it down to the hours you've done, you're well below minimum wage of $9 an hour. So I just want to point that out. And, you know, and again, I'm not about, you know, it's just, and again, it's not about me, it's about the position. It's about, you know, and I think, you know, you two are up for election this year. But if you two are here, then us three are up the following 2 years. You know, the next person comes in, you know, I'll say this, I'm not gonna be here forever, but I mean, it feels like I've been here forever, but, you know, the next person who comes in any ward, you know, it's also, and I think we're all qualified candidates, but it also attracts other candidates also. You know,
If you're going by the number for the sewer admin at 15, that would be going from 5 to, well, it'd be a $3,000 increase per person up here. If that doesn't go through, and we're still at the 5,000, I still suggest that the sewer admin fees should relate the 20 versus 10. So, but if you're looking at the $15,000 increase, it's really going to be a net of 10, correct me if I'm wrong, a net of 10 out of the operating budget because we're drawing the revenue in
Mhm.
for the 5,
If we did the 20%.
if we increase that. So, and to answer your point, I thought about the spin. that people would have on this. And it is weird, Jay, you know,
I said,
but
if I was over there and you asked me, I would say you guys deserve it. It's tough because I'm talking about myself.
some
but-
people say yes, the position should say yes, the position deserves it. Other people, it's going to be, and I know it, because I may say the same thing. All right, how can the council cut anywhere else? Because, so it's like, what is important and what's not? You know, so, I mean, I struggle with that too, because I am gonna look at making some cuts in here. Or suggesting some. And I don't wanna be a hypocrite and say, oh yeah, we should increase here and cut there, but that's the budget. That's what's in here, and that's what I'm going by. So, again, people who don't like us are gonna put that spin out all over the place, and but that's what it is. But I truly feel, honestly, and this is just my thought, everybody has a suggestion and different ideas, but only 5 of us are in this position. So when people say, oh, you should have did this, or how come you did this, or why didn't you do this? It's so much easier to say it, especially online, when the 5 of us have to make a decision. So,
And I want to point out, like, I know I've heard numerous comments over the past couple of years. We don't make $25,000, $30,000, $40,000.
75, I think it was.
Some
Yeah.
people said we
Yeah.
made 75, yes.
Yeah.
A council person is $5,000 a year, council president is $6,000. So that's basically what a council president, so for the general public, whoever's watching, and we're gonna talk about this when it comes time for, the public hearings anyway, so, I just wanna point that out, it's $5,000 a year.
and I think I could speak for the remaining of the council as well, is if this doesn't go through, I don't see anybody up here doing less work
No.
than what we're doing right now. So it's not about that.
And it's just like any department here. You know, every department, including police, fire, municipal, there's been times they've gone 5 years without raises. They still responded to fires, they still, they still did their job, and we thank them for those times that they went through that. But the last 3-4 years, we've been very, lucky to be able to help with those raises, and try to keep people here and work with everybody and try to keep them from leaving, training here and then taking off to another department or whatever. I mean, we see it a lot, and I just thought DPW, like, you got guys coming here, get their CDL, go through 1-2 years with us and go work for a construction company making $9-10 more an hour for a truck driver because they got the CDL license. You know, in today's day and age, it's not a, municipal job, municipal everything. That used to be the thing. That was the job you wanted because that was it. It's one thing I'll say, it's always usually solid. You don't go through, layoffs or whatever. But in today's day and age, the people that are getting hired today, it's not about the loyalty and the 25 years here and get the pension. It's about, I can make 10,000 more. I'm gonna go raise my family, and it's different. It's about the money. It's not about the pension. It's not about the, they figure they can go somewhere else and make that money and make it up quicker. So, and again, I've never been in support of a council pension or council healthcare. And I've never really sat up here and said that the council deserves a raise, except I think one other time we talked about it. And it was Bert who brought it up, and he's the one who brought the conversation up. And even then, we didn't agree because we were making cuts and we had departments getting 0% increases over a 5-year period, over a 5-year agreement, over a 5-year plan, basically. And, Mark, I think you were a major at that time, weren't you, when that started?
Probably earlier than that.
Even so, I mean, and like I said, everybody sacrificed at that time, and things have been going good. And I think this council has been doing a very good job over the last 4 years, especially with our budget. Every department has been doing a great job. We've had surpluses, it's school side and I have a tough time because when the school comes up here and asks for 0%, I don't want to even ask for, I want a 0% tax increase across the board, but it's very hard, especially when the school department can't ask us for 0%. I know they got a little extra state aid last year and so on and so forth, but, it's, when that department comes up and says 0%, it's hard to even ask the taxpayers for a 2% tax increase. But, again, I I'd like to see $10,000 to $15,000 in this line item. But that's up, I mean, we can save it for a vote later and further discussion, but somebody convinced me otherwise. I might get 50 emails tonight saying I'm a criminal. I don't know, but
That's a different story.
I would be happy if 50 people were watching this right now. That would be-
Legal.
This one was adjusted upwards, first in the administrative expense with anticipated increase in our retainer and litigation rates. We've adjusted again between labor specialists and outside services, just for your awareness, trying to get those classified consistently and with the proper vendor. So for labor specialist would be grievances and arbitration cost and collective bargaining. And then for outside services, typically it would be for conflict counsel or tax matters that Tim isn't handling, such as the windmill tax dispute. So just being a little more consistent in how we do that. And lastly, and a slight adjustment in the planning and zoning solicitor rate, since there's so much housing legislation and other issues going on. So we anticipate that'll carry us through probably another year.
Any questions on legal?
Labor specialist. So that's for these negotiations.
It's a combination of counsel for arbitrations and grievances and separate, we have two different firms handling them right now, separate one for labor negotiations.
So with the grievances, that goes through HR, right? I think this is for if it goes beyond HR. Right?
No, well, she consults our labor attorneys. I don't want to say frequently, but often enough that we get invoices for them to do research or help us navigate grievances before they get to arbitration, but definitely during arbitration.
Any other questions on legal?
Do you want to hear the good news on the rates? Shall I share that now?
Why not?
So we did get the email from the trust today, so that I could have it to start preparing what our adjustments are gonna be. So where I had planned a 7% for health, I think, and dental. Health is only gonna be 5.18%. Dental is gonna be 2.06. Oh, a decrease. See that? So that's even gonna be more. And then work-related injury is only 1.18% increase. So as I have it calculated right now, that's about a $245,000 savings. That's actually gonna be a little bit more. I thought that word for dental said increase, so that's gonna
good
be,
news. Yep.
yeah, so it's about 245,000 just for general fund. And I was able to give updated numbers to wastewater today before we sent that out.
Right.
Thank you.
Oh,
Good news. Any other questions from the council? Any questions or concerns from any department heads? Before we move on.
Do we have to adjourn and then restart for the, okay.
it's a separate meeting.
Yeah, that's what I thought. But I wanted to- So,
Hearing none,
motion to adjourn.
Second.
all in favor?
Aye.
Thank you for your time tonight. If you want to stick around for the Civic Center, we're going on with that. I am taking a break. Yeah. Meeting called to order. Today is Monday, March 25th. It is now 7:56 PM. Town Council going over West Warwick Civic Center's 2024-25 budget.
I have to go to paper, 'cause my computer just hated me.
Councilman Messier?
Here.
Councilman Lichardi?
Here.
Councilman Dennison?
Here.
Council Vice President Williamson?
Here.
Council President Goslin?
Here.
Or Mr. Clerk?
Hi, Laurie.
Hi, Lori.
Lori, before you start, is what's out in the hall the same as what's in the book?
Same thing, right?
All right, 'cause I'm going, all right. No, I have it right. I'm going by the book.
I mean, the one that I
No,
emailed, the
no,
one that I emailed,
it's
what I
just by,
assumed you
a-
replaced in your book.
just
take
a
a
little
copy. I'll
tiny
take-
bit.
all right, I'll
though.
take a copy.
Yeah, just a little tiny bit.
Thank you.
Wow, it's a lot thicker than I have now.
Well, I have it. This is literally what I just got put on my, over here. This is exactly what you have. So yeah, I don't need another
Next
one.
time you print both sides. See how
Wow,
long-
wow.
I got too much paper. I don't know why this is not closing and saving. You ready? All right, we ready?
Sure.
All right.
Go for it.
So before I start, just because Councilman Dennison is new, I just want to go over a brief little overview of the Civic Center. Civic Center is an enterprise. It falls under the umbrella of the entire town, but I'm kind of like a little business by myself, more or less to say, and no taxpayer dollars operate the Civic Center. So long and short of it is that my revenues must exceed my expenses, and that expenses are from salaries, benefits, utilities, the deficit for the wind turbines, my supplies, all that good stuff. So basically, it's called a budget, but it's more of just a guideline of the revenues and expenses of the Civic Center. And that's about all we have. I mean, it's pretty simple. It pretty much stays the same. I mean, you've been there a million times. You're pretty much
Yeah.
familiar with the place.
Yep.
You know, I'll go into it really quickly. Nothing really has changed significantly over the last few years. My wages obviously have gone up a bit. I do have a lot of part-timers. The government keeps giving them raises, well-deserved raises, because I do have amazing staff. The other numbers are fixed. They're the payroll, the medical, the dental, life insurance, supplies and expenses. I buy a lot of toilet paper, a lot of paper towels, and a lot of cleaning supplies there. So, major needs. They're old buildings, things do break.
Can I ask you a
And-
question on that, or would you like to finish the whole thing?
Go ahead.
So major needs, I know that's a line that's put in the budget every year.
Yep.
So to me, just looking at this,
Mhm.
major needs, major breaks that must be fixed immediately.
Mhm.
Every year, there's usually the same roughly amount, $40 to $50,000. Are you fixing $40 to $50,000 worth of
So over the
Same
last few
every
years.
year?
Yes, because of my compressors being on their last, very, very, very last leg, and more or less like a hope and a prayer every day that you're not gonna come in into a swimming pool instead of an ice rink. And when those things do go down, they are a big fix. So
So this is
this is
roughly
new. This
40.
is a new, like, 45, because we are getting the new compressors over the summer. So that 45 might not happen. I mean, it may happen, like, I mean, the fire sprinklers could break, and that could be a whole disaster in the field house, so that is more or less just me putting that number there of maybe it'll happen, maybe it won't.
Yeah.
I can't predict.
But it's not like you're fixing the same thing over and
Oh,
over
no,
again
no, no,
every
no,
year.
No.
Like
The
putting a
compressors-
Band-Aid and everything.
Yeah, I mean, the compressors were a constant fix until we decided that we were gonna get new ones.
Okay.
So, no, they're not going to be anymore because they're gonna have a warranty. So. And let's just hope it works well. Other than that, my ice, the rentals,
all that good stuff. My summer program is an amazing program. Got anything else? Unless you guys have some questions for me.
So one of the things I brought up to Kristen, Lori and I had a conversation today, and about, this was basically based on capital that came in, that was cut by the manager. Actually was in the operating budget, which I feel personally, because the Civic Center is not part of the operating budget, that it shouldn't be in there. But I don't think it's right to say, all right, you do need these things, we can't fund it. So the question I would have if I was in Lori's position was, how do I fund it? So because, and I've had questions about the Civic Center budget every year. So if we're coming in, just for round number's sake, say $60,000 in the black, and we have this list of items that are needed, I still believe that the money is due back to the town. And because of that, we can't, you could probably explain this a lot better than I can right now. So if you want to explain it, and then I'll finish up.
Yeah, so I mean, so if there's a profit at the end of the year, and she needed these things, she would get them and it would be less of a profit. Basically less, but it would still be something that's reducing the due to the
Right.
town, but she's getting what she needs.
Right.
And then we did talk about the wind turbines this past year. There was a lot of expenditure, so I wasn't comfortable doing it, but that's also something we can assess towards the end of the year to see how they're doing. To help with any capital needs they need.
And as we discussed today, when we were discussing it, so the last few years, again, the compressors being in the state that they were in, I was always very skeptical of being like, hey, I need this $20,000-$30,000 piece of equipment. And then on June 27th, they completely break. And then I have to bring someone in. So if they come in on June 27th, they would have to go under that. And then I would have negative, and I don't want to have a negative.
Well, I mean, going from like past years, I mean, it's been, and it may not happen this year, but it's been in the positive.
At least the last 3 or 4.
So, and I know you asked for many different things over the course, however many years, and it's constantly being, no, because of big ticket items.
Same way.
So what I think, in my personal opinion, should happen is if there is a surplus, and I feel this way about recreation too. If there's a surplus from the Civic Center, which is either ice rink or field house, and there are needs that would be placed in the ice rink or field house, and the profit is there, I don't see an issue of using this list and making that happen,
We follow that every year.
Yeah.
you know?
And again, as as we talked about today, I said to you that once I have the new compressors in place and I'm not worried, on June 20th or June 27th that they're going to break, and then I've scheduled an entire summer of hockey and, figure skating and whatnot, and then they break and then I become negative. So that was always my goal of not to take away from the other things that take place throughout the year, because I was nervous. I have made improvements throughout the years. We talked about the bleachers. The bleachers were really old, so we boxed them in. So that came out of the Civic Center money. The scoreboard, those were $40,000. They came out of the Civic Center. We replaced the boiler. That came out of the Civic Center. So things are getting done. It's just capital. Why not ask? What's the worst you're gonna say to me? No.
And my philosophy with dealing with her capital, if you run down the list, the generator, I cut that because I think using that as our emergency shelter strengthened our ability to hopefully get an EMA grant or a Rhode Island EMA grant for that item. I think we maybe just missed it last time. The scissor lift, skipping one, was my note was when we have money left over this year, since that's not one of the smaller items that we could get it. And in my mind, the same thing was for painting. The place could use painting, especially the outside, seeking either an outside alternative funding source or residual money. The PA system was kind of like a wish list thing. The next two I thought were important. at least on a safety, and public service, to get the rubber padding for the ice rink and then the bathroom upgrades, because I always hear about bathroom issues there. And the HSB sensor, we just did many of the other town buildings through a grant on a program promoted by the trust, with sensors, for a lot less money than $250,000. So once the new compressor system is set up, we're gonna have it assessed by the trust folks to see if that's something we can blend into that project at a significantly less cost.
And what is that? Adam? What's an HSB sensor?
They're the heat, you put sensors around and they're Wi-Fi enabled, Bluetooth enabled, so if a temperature rises or there's water leakage, you'll get a text or an email to your select people.
Any questions for Lori?
No, not to, one of the things we talked about in previous years, I think actually, Jason, you're the one that brought it up, is actually paying back that due from and having it be a line item.
I'd love for that to happen.
But that's sort of counter to what you said.
No, it
So-
doesn't, because I think if it were a line item, and if we can't do it, we can't do it, so that's why I bring it up again. But it would be a specific amount for a line item.
Yeah.
So if you were to put, like, it would be put in the budget as an expense, just, again, say it was 30,000. That would mean there would be a 30,000 to be paid. And then afterwards, when that is paid, like everything else, at the expenses, whatever's left over for revenue, at that point, whether it's 10 or 100,
But-
I think you
but-
should
but-
have that towards that.
I just want, I know we've brought it up in past years and to have a different conversation this year, I just want to make sure we know where we're heading. So you're actually saying, put it as a line item. It's
So
not here.
I'm sorry, I misunderstood you when you said put it as a line item. I just thought you meant if we have money, funds
No, so
towards the end of the year.
last year I brought it up and
Yeah.
you said we couldn't do it.
You
So I
can't,
just
I-
dropped
it
it.
it doesn't make any sense because the mechanism of the due from is revenues coming in, expenses going out. That's the mechanism. So then you end up with a surplus or a deficit end of the year. And that's essentially, if you had more revenues coming in, it's gonna reduce that due from. That,
And I just wanted to have the conversation so we understand that happens and there's,
So we'd clarify, so at the end of the year, if there is a surplus of 50,000, that automatically starts clearing off that number once everything's
Yes.
set?
yes,
it's on a daily basis.
that's correct.
Okay.
Yeah.
Basically, it's a
Yeah.
moving target every
Right.
day.
Right.
But if we're starting it towards the end of I thought what you meant was like at the end of the year, we're starting to see she's definitely gonna have a surplus 50,000 or so. Then she needs some capital things that she would spend it, she would get what she needs and it would just decrease what,
What just came in for that year?
yes.
Yes, that's exactly what it is.
Okay, but I was,
So that's not, okay, that's different than what you talked about last year. I just want to make sure
It
we're,
is, because-
okay, all right.
Because we couldn't do what I asked last year. I think for me, it'd be easier to see it here as an expense. Expensive, again, say 30, you bring in 60. 30 of that would be from that 60, and then there's 30,000 in a profit.
So,
And
so,
then you could do what you
you're
want
kind of
with that 30.
artificially inflating the, I mean, the budget is a guideline as it is, but
Correct.
again, it's,
and it's balanced and it's, yes, yeah.
yeah, it's just, if you're gonna have these, you're gonna see the expenses, you're gonna see it maybe in her major needs, but she went over budget because she had some
Right,
stuff.
I understand all
Yeah.
that. You explained it very clearly earlier, so.
Sorry, my computer is crashing.
Any other questions for Lori?
We need to go back while she's here
Capital.
we just kind of
We
blew
just
through
went
that.
over
We just
capital.
did that.
But under general government, she had proposed a community enrichment line and we held it for tonight, so she didn't have to come twice. I didn't make any adjustments to this because I think conceptually it's a good idea to promote community involvement. So she and Jeff had worked on a proposal. Overall, it wasn't big money, so I left it for presentation and future discussion, so.
You need a copy of
I'll let
that,
her
or you
take
have it? Oh, I would like
So-
to print
Yeah,
everything.
Give it to us,
Perfect.
sure.
Here, right?
Yeah, it'll stop me from looking through this monstrosity.
So I have a lot of papers. I don't think I have. that
Tab
one.
11.
Thank you.
Thank
This thing is crashing like now.
Since you killed those trees already. Yeah, all right, thank you.
VPN attached. No, I cannot. Thank you.
All right, so I'm gonna give you a little background on why I decided to really push forward with this. Like, obviously, we all know that I've run the Civic Center. I'm very involved with town sports. I still coach a little girl softball team. My son is, very athletic and involved. And I feel like sometimes, and you all know this, because I come to all of you and I ask you to give me things all the time, whether it's time, donations, whatever it is. I feel like a lot of times, like I walk into restaurants to actually eat, and the owner might hide from me sometimes because they're like, oh God, here she comes again and she's going to ask for something. So I truly believe that we have an
Pretty
amazing
sure that's true.
community. Yeah,
All
yeah.
right.
I know it. I feel like here comes a town beggar. That's really what I am. We have an amazing community. I have amazing colleagues that I work with, and all these people that stayed tonight for this are all the people that I somehow say, I have a great idea, and can you help me? And they all are
Hang up.
amazing.
That's
Yeah.
when I hang up.
We all know if I start it with, I have an idea.
Yeah, when I
That's
see,
all
when I
just
see
work.
Lori or
It's
Barbara
not, hi,
Tabak's
how are
number
the
come up, I'm
kids?
like,
It's not,
"Uh-oh."
yeah.
I have an idea.
Yeah.
What gel?
So I believe that we have an amazing community, and I believe that there's so many amazing people that do come to all these events, and I just feel that we can broaden how great these events all take place are. But unfortunately, everything does cost money. Whether you say yes or no to this whole budget, I'm still gonna go out, I'm still gonna ask, I'm still gonna continue to do the things that I've been doing over the last few years. And I'm still gonna make all these people come and help me, and I'm gonna ask them to donate their time and whatever else they can donate for it. So I'll just go over it really quickly. So the Winter Festival was actually Chief Barone's idea, and Nicole and I started talking about it one day, and we were like, let's just go with it. So we went with it 2 years ago, and it actually turns out to be like a really fun, like winter kind of thing. It's a great thing to do with the Christmas trees, so we do that. I do believe that you go to other cities and towns and you see their gazebos and whatnot, and they're decorated for the season. So like, why are we not doing that? Like, why can't we decorate our gazebos, like centers, like of the town, to like reflect the different times of the year and whatnot? The summer concerts. So the summer concerts that do take place is a grant that I do write through Centerville Bank, and they are absolutely amazing. They do come. Last year I opened it up to like vendors that wanted to come, and whether they had like a small little business and they wanted to come and sell some things. I did bring one down to River Point. I asked the people that I used for the summer camp to donate a bouncy house for it, a dunk tank. Jeff had gotten donated. We put some football players, cheerleaders in it. They were great. They were able to raise some money for their teams. We did pie in your face, which we will never, ever, ever do again. It smelled terrible for days. Like, that was all I could smell was rotten milk.
Did it once, that was the last time.
Yeah. I mean, it was great. We did raise money. We were able
Super
to
fun. It's
do
fun,
like
yeah.
things with it. So, I mean, it actually
Fun when
worked
you're on the
out.
other side of it.
Yeah, yeah, I definitely don't want to be on the
I
pie
think people
side.
enjoy myself and Lori getting pied more than anybody. I don't
Yeah,
know why.
yeah, it was,
I think Chief Barone, did you get one? I did.
yeah,
One.
Yeah.
And then you ran, you
Yeah.
never came back.
Yeah.
Chief,
Yeah.
did you get one? Absolutely not.
no. The SRO got a bunch
You know,
though.
don't
Yeah.
do it in November when you got the beard, it's worse,
Yeah.
it lasts a lot longer.
I had double digit.
So this year we did the trunk or treat. We incorporated with the sports teams and we went down to River Point. I mean, it would be really fun to be able to decorate the haunted hayride, not just a hayride around River Point in your Halloween costume. Like, I think it would just be fun to be able to do things like that. The holiday trees, I did start to do this year at the Civic Center. I will be totally honest with you. I kind of did it just because people kept driving and parking there, and I decided to put the trees there, and that blocks people from trying to park there and whatnot. But I would like to make that like a really big thing. And if that's something that we're gonna do, I obviously have to talk to the tree farms, and Jeff would have to talk to them too sooner than later. Where like Coventry, East Greenwich, Pawtucket does a fabulous like winter wonderland where you're able to get you can come and you can donate some
Yeah,
money.
like families will
Yeah,
donate
and
a
they
tree,
can-
businesses will
yeah.
do a tree, yeah.
It's so great. And it's just, each tree is different and, the families come and they really enjoy it. Like, I was thinking that, the band could come and we could have like a big opening night and somehow we could like, I don't know, make like a little train out of like little tin containers or something. The Christmas parade too. A lot of towns do that. And I just think that that would be a super fun thing to do is that we could have Santa come and like go through the town and like throw some, I've seen like different towns do it. I think that
Are you thinking
Smithfield does
like
it.
a similar route to like St. Patrick's Day, like?
No, they like drive through and like kids come out of their house and,
Oh,
Yeah.
Coventry did, Coventry used to do it, yeah.
yeah. I know Smithfield does it. I saw it, my cousin had posted some pictures last year and like, they just come out on their front lawn and like they throw like a
Or
candy
lollipops and
cane.
candy canes,
Yeah, I just think it would be fun and I really think that, the community would really enjoy it. And then just tree lighting, Christmas lights, so that would go under this budget and be taken out of the parks budget if that's the case. Or just, we could add just more Christmas lights because, a few more won't hurt anybody. So again, this is an idea. I think. Well, maybe that's what you
Yeah,
can
yearly,
change
you
that
guys
line.
can go yearly down there, I think, right?
Oh, no.
Tried to give you one.
So,
2 years ago, I tried to give you one.
We had a good one. Oh, it was beautiful when they installed it.
Yeah, back to the pickle tree, you should have left the pickle tree.
Every time the chief goes down for breakfast, I get a text message.
I don't know,
I,
do you have
I,
anything to
I
add?
like it, I think it's a good idea.
No, I think it's a great idea. I think the community, just the few that we've had, last year to this year with, the Christmas trees got bigger. I think the more we do it, the more people we're gonna have and people seem to have a great time. Even with the summer fest we had this year, it was the first year we did it, and we had quite a few people there. It'd be
Yeah.
nice to,
Clarify, I know we waited for this, this comes out of, the Civic Center budget, or this is part of the,
I put it in general fund.
General fund.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But the idea would be if it was approved, it would be kind of like a transfer into its own fund so that it would sustain
track it.
itself. If
Yeah.
And again, I think everybody up here knows to have these events, any type of event, there's gotta be some sort of allowance for it because, yeah, a lot of businesses, a lot of people donate their time, donate gift certificates, money and whatever for these events because obviously it also helps them. But it's very hard to be dependent on them every single year and, to get things started, at least you know where you stand. And, it's, anybody who has decorated for Christmas knows, I mean, Jeff was with me this last Christmas watching us decorate and he heard some, conversations about, how much more you're gonna put on, and I love doing it, and it's fun, and, it's like, all right, I wanna go get something else, I wanna get something else, and it adds up quick, and, so.
the trunk or treat alone this year, the amount of people, I don't know if any of you guys came.
Oh, it's
The
crazy.
amount of people that we had at the trunk or treat this year, knowing there was a hayride, I think was more than, and I could be wrong, more than I've ever seen
Mhm.
in all my years here.
The weather cooperates and
was-
everything
It was
else.
a beautiful,
we-
beautiful night.
We had lines from Ray Silver all the way down to the gate to take a hayride,
Yeah.
and it was just a hayride around the park. Imagine what it would be if we were able to decorate.
and I know how much time you put in above and beyond
Yeah.
to do this, and I think when we can help out as a council, I said this when the Arctic Village Association wanted money to do, whether it's the flower pots or anything we can do for that, I think we should, as a town should be helping to support people that wanna make this, make either the town more beautiful or have more fun events. That's what people say all the time. They want more community events, There used to only be a couple, whether it was
Yeah.
St. Patrick's Day and Labor Day and a couple of the tree lightings. The more we can include more of these things to the gazebo concert series or
Mhm.
different, when you talk about the gazebo, you talked about decorating for not just Christmas.
Right.
For the, yeah.
For every holiday. And I just think it's, it's something that the town people will be proud of and be like, oh, look at that. And, maybe, prom season, if it's decorated like really nice with nice flowers and whatnot, maybe that's a place that they'll go and take their pictures for the prom. Like, I mean, who knows? Like, and my other thought is like, let's be honest, like, I'm not gonna be here forever, and like, we don't know if the next person that comes in will be as comfortable going to everybody and asking them to donate their time and to donate things. So at least this would give something so that these events don't die out and, you know, the community can continue to have these nice things.
No, and I'll point out, when Warren was here, he had a lot of events. And then when Warren left, some of those events went away.
Yeah.
And, you know, I know Councilman Licciardi has been pretty good and active in like the egg hunt and whatever else, you know, the Halloween, the Christmas dance, or Halloween dance, Halloween party, you know, those go over well. And many people right now are on social media. When's the egg hunt? When's the egg hunt? When's the egg hunt, right? And, no, but we keep an eye out, right? You keep an eye out. Jay, I know everybody keeps an eye out and says, March 30th behind Maisie Quinn, 9 AM. But again, people are looking for this, and when it goes away, it's hard,
Yeah.
you know, so.
I mean, I think these events are great places where people get to know their neighbors, you know, they get to meet other people, maybe their children, you know, the egg hunt, there's, you know, a ton of kids that are there, and maybe they're able to, these kids start playing together and the parents become friends, and you know what, maybe they make lifelong friendships there.
And you know, with Lori doing it, every year they're gonna get more extravagant and more, and bigger and bigger and bigger, so.
No, but again, we talked about all the communities, and I know it's not near here, but in Florida, I watched how they decorated the entire road, zigzag and the lights full height high, and, you know, you go down, and yeah, there's a couple of restaurants and whatever, but everybody's walking down these streets.
We just went to Florida and it was that pirate, that Gasparo or whatever.
In Tampa, it was in
Oh
Tampa.
my God, it was crazy. Everybody was a pirate except us.
That's an enormous event.
Yeah,
The
but again,
the
crazy.
Gasparilla. or
Yeah,
something.
that's what it was,
Yeah.
Gasparilla.
And it starts things up, but again, I watched like just, and that's all the time, like the lights on the street
Yeah.
zigzagging down the street. You know, they had it pretty much, you know, going with the electrical lines
Mhm.
and following it like that all the way down, you know, and I looked at that right here in Arctic and maybe down in Phoenix, or, you know, maybe even Crawford, but, you know, these are things that, you know, I know when I go to other areas, I try to get those ideas from places because, you know, but then expense, you know, there is an expense, and, you know, even if you have the lights hanging up, Rhode Island's tough, Northeast is tough with the winter, but, you know,
The last 2 years I wanted to have, I couldn't get them for nothing, the draft horses come for the winter fest, and you could, get on the top of a ride for the horses.
I'm an ice skating rink for the Winterfest, right?
Yeah.
plenty of boards behind your building.
I know. I just think it would be super fun.
Well, again, I think it's a small amount to ask for these events. How many? Six events, 7 events?
And
More-
we'll still do the
really more than
carnival,
that,
like, I
really
mean,
more than that, because Gazebo is year round, so really it's
Right.
more than that. And the,
Yeah.
and the concerts are, what is it, how many concerts, 6?
I try to start at the end of June and then go to the second week of August. So I think
7, 8.
9, I think I did. So, you know, I think it's fun to just do these. I mean, don't get me wrong, some days at summer concerts, I'm not very happy because it's a Wednesday afternoon and I'm kind of tired. But I still smile when I'm there.
That's how I feel on Tuesdays.
Yeah. But if this is not something that can happen, I mean, these events are still gonna take place, like, I'm still gonna come and ask everyone to donate and just, you know, same thing for softball, same thing for football and basketball and baseball. I'm still gonna come and ask you all to do something silly.
No, and again, I don't mind giving it a shot for a year and see how it goes. I think somebody just said.
You got a yes already, so.
Does anybody have any questions for Laurie?
No.
Thank you, Laurie.
Thank you.
That said, any other good news tonight?
Not that I can think of.
I'm gonna make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it.
Thank you, everybody. Have a happy Easter. Make sure, wait,
Oh, we have
do,
Easter.
a quick, I know it's late, the Easter egg hunt, and the 3 people that are watching. online.
Saturday, it's not going to rain?
Beautiful